Good morning, class. I am Rochelle and Kaye, but you can call me Ma'am R.A. I will be your teacher for today's lesson. I hope you're doing great. Class, before we proceed to our new topic or new lesson, I prepared the jumbled letter for you to arrange as a guide for our new topic. So, isn't it clear, class? Okay. So, are you ready? Okay. So, anyway, the mechanics of this games is step number 1, you need to arrange the jumbled letter. Step number 2, you need to comment in our section box. Okay. So, the first jumbled letter or the jumbled word is what? Yes, Miss Marinay? Correct. That is sewing machine. Very good guess. That's correct. What about number 2? Yes, Miss De La Cruz? Exactly. That is pin. Thank you, Miss De La Cruz. Yes. And how about number 3? Yes, Miss Pichi? That is measurement. Exactly. What a brilliant student. You're all correct. Okay. So class, thank you for your active participation. So what have you noticed about our jumbled letter? So based on the game you've done, what is our new topic, class? Okay, class. So our topic for today is all about sewing tools and equipments. Okay. So class, are you familiar with the sewing tools and what do we call this? The equipments? Okay, so the first process that we will going to use that usually take place in making any kind of clothing is measurement. When we say measurement, it is the act of determining the target, the size, length, capacity, and the other aspects. Okay, so which among those tools are used to take a measurement? So we have a tape measure, ruler, and hem marker. When do we use hem marker and measurement and in marking? When do we use a ruler? In making a straight line, of course. When do we use a tape measure? So in taking body measurement or drafting pattern and determining the correctness of the measurement laid onto the fabric. Okay, so how do we classify these tools again, class? Correct, it's the measuring tools. So after measuring, so the next step will be drafting. So when we say drafting, it is the process of making or drawing in a draft. Okay. So what are those tools used for drafting? Here are they: Taylor square, French curve, and hip curve. When we say Taylor square, it is in drawing perpendicular lines, obtaining square corners, and dividing measurement. When do we use French curve? It's used to shape the necklines, collar, and the armhole. So when do we use hip curve? In forming a long curve in lines like a shape of the hip and skirt lines. So how do we classify those tools again? It's a drafting tools. Okay. So in forming a measurement, the other tool that we will going to use aside from drafting tools is marker or marking tools. So what are the different marking tools? We have tailor chalk, dressmaker carbon paper, and tracing wheel. When do we use a tailor chalk? In connecting a measurement or in connecting prints or measurement to form a whole pattern. So when do we use a dressmaker carbon paper? In copying the shape of the pattern on a clothes. So when do we use a tracing wheel? In tracing a pattern on the fabric. So when do we classify again these tools, class? It's a marking tools. Okay, I'll repeat, it's a marking tools. So which tools are used for cutting? So first, let's define first what is cutting. When we say cutting tools, it is a pointed tool mounted in a machine tool and used for cutting materials. So what are the tools used for cutting? We have scissor, shear, and seam ripper. So when we say scissor, it is a fabric scissor are made for cutting fabric and high quality fabric scissors have tempered that creates an even cut along the entire length of the blade, all the way to the tips. So when we say share, it is a fabric scissor on or fabric share as they more commonly refer to the main tool used for cutting out of your fabric. So after cutting, so the last step that we will going to do is sewing. What is sewing? Sewing is a process of using a needle and threads to connect pieces of fabric or to attach them to fabric surfaces. It's a practical skills used to make or repair clothing. It can also function as a creative outlet. So this is to avoid the cloth from moving while sewing. It's a pin, okay? So remember, the purpose of the thimble is to prevent discomfort while sewing by protecting the barrier between fingertips and the blunt end of the needle. It is likely that the earliest thimble were created closely following the invention of sewing. It is a thimble. Next, this tool is considered as partner in crime. They cannot perform without each other. It's a needle and repeat. These are the tools are considered as partner in crimes. They cannot perform without each other. Okay. And lastly, we have a sewing machine. What do we mean by sewing machine? It is a machine which the mechanically driven needle for sewing or stitching a cloth. Okay, class. So class, would you mind to demonstrate or perform the task or the proper usage and function of sewing tools and equipment? Okay, class. Bring out one whole sheet of paper and we're going to answer the following question. So, operation. So, give the five classification of tools. Next, give the 3 example of measuring tools. And last, give at least 2 example of cutting tools. I repeat. Give the 5 classification of tools and give the 3 given example of measuring tools. Last, give at least 2 example of cutting
Send
tools.
to our group chat.
So are there any questions, class, or clarifications? If none, I'll give you your assignment. So your assignment, draw at least 5 example of measuring tools, drafting tools, cutting tools, sewing tools, and marking tools. I repeat, draw at least 5 example of measuring tools, drafting tools, cutting tools, marking tools, and sewing tools. Okay? So class, I hope you learned from our lesson. So thank you for listening. Goodbye.